You know what? I get it. As an author, I am on the page trying to write a character and I don't understand who they are. And I find when I read my writing, it comes across as very superficial, very telly, one dimensional. And I know the readers are going to hate it and skip over it just like I do. But there are tips and techniques where you can use actually flesh out these characters and make them come alive. This is actually for any writer trying to get in the head of someone they don't fully understand yet. But we can still, as writers, use our imagination and create real people that readers will care about. I'm going to start using a very telly, stereotypical example of a male writer thinking they're writing a great female character, but they're not. And I'm going to guide you through my process just so that might help you as a writer improve. Here's the bad example. Jessica walked into the coffee shop, her long legs and bright eyes instantly drawing attention. She sat down gracefully across from her friend Amanda, who was also beautiful, but in a quieter way. I'm so tired of being hit on all the time. It's exhausting being this attractive. They both laughed, flipping their hair in unison. Amanda asked, "Anyway, what's going on with Brad?" Jessica replied, "Oh, I don't know. He hasn't texted in 2 days. I think I might be in love." "You always fall too fast, but I get it. I miss being in love." Amanda sighs. "Do you ever just want to escape it all and move to Paris? Like every day," Jessica said. "If this is your type of writing, stop and forgive yourself first. Don't worry. There's a lot of over-description, particularly about appearance. They're the center of men's attention. And also, these are two women sitting down to talk, but they're only talking about men. They're not talking about anything else. The dialogue and the descriptions are fairly generic. To me, they sound pretty much the same. And we don't want to be that way. We want to create rich and vibrant characters, but sometimes it's challenging. And I hear you. I know that. What's the arc of these characters? What are they trying to grapple with? Yes, the writing is very one-dimensional and uniform, but let's dive into just this particular piece here. And she asked, "Do you ever want to escape it all?" And Jessica says, "Every day." And that can be a very powerful theme. That's a very universal theme. We all have these deep feelings and emotions and struggles. And the struggle for identity and purpose is very universal. And I can guarantee you, your readers have also struggled with that. So now when we rewrite these characters, start imagining yourself in that situation where you're struggling with that theme and how that can make you feel. And now let's get your characters to feel that and express that. Let's make this specifically about the women and about themselves. And let's rewrite this scene with that goal in mind. I'm actually going to get the reader to dive right into the middle, kind of in the heart of the conversation. The reader's going to probably feel that they're going to have to catch up. So they're going to be focused on every word of my writing so they can figure out what are these characters feeling. What are they thinking? Where are they? What's the dynamic between the two? When I walk into a coffee shop or I'm sitting there, what makes me feel like I'm there is like a burst of steam. So let's use that. From the espresso machine, pulled Jessica's gaze from her waiting friend. But instead of me telling the reader about their mood, I want to use a setting for that. So let's do that. So I want to say to the rain streaking the window. And I kind of like that, so let's kind of build on that metaphor. A droplet raced down glass before merging with the rest. She sighed. So where I think that helps and that improves on it is that I'm leveraging the setting for her mood. And you especially see the rain on the glass, and as she's struggling with identity, and we can leverage that metaphor of the droplets merging together. And then she sighs at that moment. And I think a reader's going to understand that. There's something deeper here. There's something that's affecting her about her uniqueness or her independence and how she might fix that. We don't have to tell everything at once. We just have to give little clues to carry them along. And right now we're starting with a clue of the setting and foreshadowing that could be something that's bothering her. So let's go back to the other character. And I don't think anyone says it's exhausting being this attractive. That's a terrible, terrible line. So let's fix it. Amanda sipped her chai. Now the choice of your drink can also kind of inform on the character. The surrounding chatter from nearby tables filling in the silence. What I'm also doing here too, just like in the previous paragraph, I don't think I fully got across that it's a coffee shop just by hearing the steam off of an espresso machine, because you can have those at home. But leveraging the tables and hearing the chatter and using the contrast of the talking around them versus the silence between them kind of will get the reader thinking there's a dynamic going on here and what have they missed, and that this conversation might even be more serious than they think. So let's go back to that. Jessica turned back, her voice barely audible. I guess I don't know. And they're not going to know exactly what's bothering them at every given time and can explicitly state that back to each character. That never happens. There's a lot of nuance and depth between people talking. And also, too, I've talked about this in another video, and you can check it out here. But we also don't want to give all the backstory away at once. And of course, in this telly example that we used, which is terrible, we actually focused on the men characters. Try to immerse them within the scene itself and not try to bring it back to your own point of view. You remember you're writing characters as if you're in their heads and you want to convey that. So let's make this conversation more deeper. I know this is hard, Jess. And, using the shortened form of her name, that's another way to show that they're pretty familiar with each other. And automatically, I think you get to know that they're friends. But it's not about finding it all at once. Again, I'm forcing the reader to infer here there's something deeper. And by that, they're going to have to really focus on each word these characters are saying to fully understand what this setting or scene is about. Instead of summarizing your feelings, let's say this. Jessica shifted. Discomfort, pressing in. So we're trying to evoke that feeling in the character that a reader might feel when you're feeling the weight of something. So something is becoming very important to her. Now let's try this. Go to Paris or something, she said, trying to laugh, but it caught in her throat. If you want the readers to feel that these characters know each other, then create a shorthand between these characters, that you're going to skip over large parts of exposition because you don't need it. Because as friends, that's not how you talk. And I really liked in the previous example the use of Paris. So the telly example, yes, the rest of it was bad. And Paris itself as a city can convey a theme. And that theme, often people think it's a romantic city. So inherently, some readers might start to get there could be some romance involved. But we don't have to explicitly state it. And I don't think that's necessarily the key theme that's bothering her. And yes, it's a symbol of, let's say, her being alone. And she's not feeling that sense of identity and purpose because she doesn't have someone she's with. But I think the greater story here and the more powerful meaning is she's struggling with her own inherent purpose. And it's coming out in so many different ways. And yes, it could be romance, it could be work, it could be friendships, it could be more. But we as writers don't have to talk about the superficial. We can actually go into some depth here. And let's give some of Amanda's feelings, but let's do it through her behavior. Amanda leaned forward, but paused a moment. Too long. Someday. Right? When someone leans forward and pauses a moment, they're thinking and maybe even qualifying what they're saying. And when she says someday, right, it conveys Amanda's doubt. Amanda is probably trying to build up her friend, but she kind of doubts maybe will her friend take that advice. And let's build off that from Jessica. Let's say that she noticed that too. Jessica's gaze dropped. We're not stating anything explicitly. Let's just infer it. She lifted her half-empty cup. I want to use this as a bit of a metaphor. The cup half full, the cup half empty. For her, it's a cup half empty. So she's feeling there's something missing in her life. To her lips and squeezed her eyes shut. By stopping at a moment that's very weighty and meaningful, and there's some huge impact on this character, and you allow some room to breathe, to let the reader take in that moment and reflect on what was just read. People are not going to do full, long run-on sentences, or they're not going to summarize their feelings and thoughts so easily. It's going to be messy, and it's okay for you to write messy dialogue where the reader is going to have to read each word and the banter between the characters to figure out what really is being said. And that's okay. Because as long as at the end of the scene, you give them enough clues to figure out what's going on, they're going to love that. Personally, I think all your characters should have depth. All of them, ideally, eventually should have some sort of arc. And when you focus on that first Telly example, of course, that sounds very stereotypical. And now I think if you read that, you'd probably cringe a little bit. And that's okay. We all make these mistakes, especially in the first draft or first few drafts. But that's where you can edit and improve on it. These characters are not just focused on boys or looks. They're actually real people just like you that have deep feelings and emotions, and you're grappling with tough stuff. And I think if you can focus on a universal theme like identity or whatever else you chose, any reader who picks up your book is going to learn from it and gain from it. Now, I have a lot to share on this topic. It's a pretty vast topic, and there's so many interesting things we can learn together, but I can save that for other videos. And if you happen to like this video, click like and subscribe. Happy writing.